We're having some storms today and I'm having a great time. Let me tell you what. See this? Basic health physics, right? Many of you don't know that I have a long career in the field of cleaning up radioactive material, chemically hazardous material, in another life, okay? And so what's been interesting for me is to be able to tie some of the principles that I found in that industry of cleaning up nuclear waste and see how that also plays out in the industry of working with men. What's up, Cool? Now I'm getting to go back over some of this book, which is my health physics book. As you can tell, like a person navigating through a Bible, I've really beat this book up in past days. And the funny correlations that I'm finding as I reflect on the quote-unquote men's work, working in the space of relationship, and navigating what's in the heart, identifying, being willing to look at things with open eyes, open ears, to recognize that everything has its place, and sometimes the place that a thing isn't where you want it to be. And so you will consider it to be something like contamination. So in my prior industry, we had, a definition for contamination, whether it's radioactive or anything. And mind you, I used to do training. I used to train guys in the military in all branches under the license so that they could function and perform business under a special nuclear materials license. So I did the training for many people over my little time on Hawaii and elsewhere. And one of the things that would come up in the class are, okay, contamination, what is it? Right? When we think contamination, we have a certain way, but really it's simplified. You have a material that exists, but it belongs in one space and you have it in another space. Now we can correlate that to these talks about toxic expressions of a person's being. Okay, I don't ever use the word toxic masculinity, but there are toxic expressions. I don't use the word toxic femininity. If you look through all my Instagram, maybe even one time, I don't think you'll find it. But why would you do that? That's a lot of Instagram to look through. But what I'm getting at and what I'm really enjoying is seeing all the correlations between these things. So contamination is something somewhere that you don't want it to be. And so many people will view something as contamination that another person may view as not. It could be you're in a relationship and you put something on the counter and your partner hates to see that thing on the counter, so they tell you, take it off the counter. It pisses me off. Why? The contamination upsets the person. And the other thing that I think I'm really enjoying is looking at something called the ALARA concept. ALARA would be, for those of you health physicists, chapter 9, right? ALARA and shielding. ALARA stands for as low as reasonably achievable. And so we utilize some things called, 3 things in fact, called time, distance, and shielding, because they're interrelated. And they help in the process of mitigating the dose that a person would receive or the damage that a person would receive. So what I don't see, and I know this because I was in the industry, is many people in the industry getting into spaces where they speak to the industry, meaning the health physics, radiation, environmental cleanup agencies, geology, geography, etc., like speaking to the emotional side of things, the spiritual side of things, besides their religions and their dogma, and really getting to tie into how does that relate to their interconnectedness as human beings? How is that affecting them and their families, their processes, and their long-term? Why? Why do I mention this? Because me being in the industry and having been married at least 3 times, that many of the men were divorced. Many of them have drug issues. A lot of them have committed suicide. They live like rock stars. We make great money. And then we spend the money because it's coming in, and we never really get to dig into our inner conflicts, the issues that we've had from being in the industry, from putting in all those hours for our family, away from our families, and then also getting to spend time as men together, but being in such a state of competition because at one point, based on economies, everyone was going to retire and they decide not to retire. So I came in at a space where these fellows were getting ready to, retire, and they started sharing all the good information with me and put me on, and I was able to grow really quickly within that space. But the flip side of it is when the economy shifted, those men decided to hold on to their jobs and they closed the doors. And so what I got to witness was what it looks like when men are open-hearted and wanting to share and pass down knowledge because, hey, we got short timers, we're getting ready to quit. And then what it is when men feel like, oh, there's scarcity now. I can't quit this work. I'm not sharing this information with the guys. There's even disinformation being shared. There's all these feelings of betrayal. And so it really changes the character. And I saw that shift in the character of men that I looked up to. Hence why I ended up quitting the field mostly because, it was an integrity thing for me, but it was like, I'm not following these men. I might as well go and figure it out myself. So I left. And then, of course, I came back to work because you grow, right? You mature. So I've retired probably 3 times from that industry, but I've also been able to function on my own. I have my own material. I have my own machinery. I've done international work that nobody knows about. A couple people know about on my own because I can function sufficiently. And I'm debating if I want to, seek to do some of that work here in Tulum. But the correlation is being in a field in an industry where you do cleanup. You have to look at what's there. You have to characterize things. You have to do what's called a historical site assessment. Then you take all that information and you identify what is clean. Because clean will be based on criteria, right? Some of it's government produced. And what the government says is clean, there might have to be an even cleaner level. So it really depends on you, the individual. So that ties into some of those personal principles. Mucho aloha, brother. Love you. We'll catch up soon. It's been good for me to take this time of rest. I hope you feel the energy. I'm rejuvenated, and I'm enjoying getting to share some of this. May it be wisdom if those who feel to receive, and those of you in the industry, I want you to listen closely, because here's an opportunity for you to take this material, health physics material, which of course we love. We love the math. We love the equations, right? Blah, blah, blah. But how can it benefit you in your spirit? Because there are spiritual principles in everything. But I think it's important to be able to open up the eye and see. How can it help you to have a better relationship with your family? Why I love that one chapter on ALARA and shielding, chapter 9 once again, is because those same principles apply to giving yourself the opportunity as a man or woman to be able to heal, right? To be able to set proper boundaries, to understand how you view a thing and be able to express it. I view such a thing as contamination. Maybe it's not, but maybe we can come together and put it in a certain place. So time, distance, and shielding. Time. How much time do you need to come to your own evolution? That's been a big thing for me, right? I'm a slow cooker, but when I'm cooked, baby. You know what I'm saying? Like when I get to that space where I come into what I needed to work on and the lesson that I needed to learn, there's no doubt the lesson has been learned, and I'll continue to look and reflect, but it's done. It's cooked. And so a lot of times people don't give themselves the time. They don't give time for it to be of benefit to you, because we're in a space where we're trying to rush. And there's the belief in your mind that you can't give yourself time. But fundamental principle in the work that actually creates results is that you sometimes need to give something time. The reason that we utilize time and how we use it in that industry is we're dealing with radioactive material. Radioactive material decays. It releases energy at a certain rate. So if you know that something has a 2-day decay rate, you can create distance and leave it alone, allow it to decay, which allow it to release, allow it to express itself over that time, and then you come back and it's inert to a degree, which means it's not emitting the same amount of energy that might be dangerous, and then you can handle it at a closer proximity. And this absolutely has been of effect in my life. I've been able to apply that, and I've also been able to apply that with men. Sometimes you need time to contemplate everything that's going on inside of you to identify what kind of boundaries that you need to hold. And then once you've identified them, you hold them, because that becomes a constitution, aka can be a principle in how you operate in the world. And it need not offend anyone. It's just what works for you. And once you identify what works for you, then you can relay that to people. And then, whether they choose to or not, it is what it is. And ultimately it works for them because it's based in a truth that you've discovered in your journey as a part of them. You get it? So time, distance. Distance means sometimes you got to create a little space between you and that thing based on the energy at play, but know that everything unfolds and calms down. We're in a space where there's entropy, so to say, where things decrease in their energy. Even like me, I might calm it down a little bit, or I might rev up a little bit, depending on what we got going on. But there's always needed a time for rest, right? Things are moving in a space of releasing, and in that release, there's a decrease in energetic output. And so in your relationship, plural, if there's something crazy going on, just give it some time. You can give it some distance, and the distance decreases the dose. It decreases the amount of energy that you receive in your body in your frame, in your energetic field, which has a resultant thing that can happen to you, whether it's good or bad. Now, if you determine being in close proximity to someone is no good, then you can step back a little bit, right? They like to say 3 feet, no pressure, right? I mean, back up a little bit. Why? Because you're feeling this energy that maybe you need a little bit of space to be able to digest. And once you've done that, you can come a little bit closer or just maintain that distance, okay? Time, distance, shielding. The distance often can be thought of as what creates shielding or shielding. Shielding could also be girding your mind, giving yourself the opportunity and utilizing another perspective that might protect you. And we do this naturally. We shield ourselves from certain interactions and certain intimacies when we've been hurt in order to heal. But sometimes we don't look back at the whole scenario and get the opportunity to heal. So a shielding could be intellect. It could be knowledge. It could be wisdom, right? You could gird yourself in a truth. A truth for me right now at this time in my life is, hey, I'm a consciousness. I'm navigating in this body. There are many times when I've taken on the warpath, and it's a natural way for me in some ways. But I don't have to hold on to that. Why? Because what am I at war with? Who's the enemy? All there is me. And now if I'm beginning to see myself as beautiful, then automatically, and which is happening, I'm beginning to see the environment. Even the noise and the construction that's going on, that I'm hearing even in this place in the jungle, as beautiful. And I can extend that even to past relationships, all the things that have helped to cultivate and bring me to this now moment. And so what happens in that space, as I navigate with that shielding, which I can also drop and increase the distance and shift my things with the time. Again, this is an ALARA principle. It's used to mitigate radioactive burden on a person, but you can use this principle, ALARA, which is using those 3, time, distance, and shielding, because they intertwine with one another to assist you in your process. This is absolutely relevant for any of you men in the health, physics, radiation, environmental, geology, bomb disposal, UXO, ordnance disposal, industries, and many people in the rest of the world don't even know the fuck I'm talking about. It's okay. Different life. Those who get it. And I feel I've broken it down in a way that any of you can take that principle. Time, distance, shielding. Give time. Shielding is a benefit, and you can also drop those shields based on giving yourself time, based on giving a little distance. I know sometimes the distance can act as the shielding, because the word that we would use is it attenuates the distance between what's being emitted. Something may lose its energy at a certain distance, and so if you're just beyond that, then it doesn't affect you. And an example could be the upper dermal layer of your skin. Now, in that industry, we speak to at least 3 different types of radioactive emission: alpha, beta, gamma. I'll just leave it at that, right? Now, an alpha is in the form of a particle that has a high energy output. If you have an exposure to something that has alpha radiation in it, and you were to ingest it inside where you don't have any protection, of course, taking it inside your body is going to create a lot of issue for you. Why? Because a lot of energy is being imparted into sensitive tissue. But on the outside, the external layer of your skin, you're protected. Just like we're protected from sun rays to a certain degree, and then you can put something on top of that, right? You can put a little sun cream if you need to, and really what that does is it attenuates, it blocks, it absorbs the particles. It's really not particles. It absorbs the energy that's coming, right? That would create a catalyst and a change in your sensitive skin, and it creates a barrier of shielding for your skin. Same thing with an umbrella. Same thing with being inside. Same thing with clothes. You understand what I'm saying? With dirt, mud. So time, distance, and shielding, ALARA principle. And the underlying principle is we look at certain things as being spiritual, but really the whole thing is spiritual. And as you start to look around and attain to a certain principle in your life, no matter what you're doing, I want to invite you to take that now at this time, right? Working on the body. Brittany, what's up? Okay, now let's think about this. Bodybuilding, body sculpting, navigating with your physiology, starting to look at the minutia between what you eat and how it shows up in your outer manifestation. Okay, how you breathe. The whole thing is spiritual. She said it, and it's true. The whole thing. And this is where I'm at right now. And to be in that space, and I may forget, I may get pissed off, I may get pulled over by someone, etc. Then I'll remember again. So now that I'm in a space of remembering, I think it's absolutely, I could tell. I mean, I already know, and I know we didn't get to talk about that the other night, but it's like, as I see a person that's working on their physique, and, I lived in Hawaii, I had an uncle who's a bodybuilder, so I got to spend a little time with them, and even me, I started to try to build a little bit. I was trying to do the leg flex. And it also, I know it's not bodybuilding per se, it's just to be correct, but also, in showing and exhibiting great physical fitness and acumen. There's coordination that's necessary. That's a physical thing. It's like a martial art to be able to be coordinated, to move a certain way, to have control over your extremities. Because a lot of people, one, we're not in a line structure as well. We're not feeling any connection to our bodies. And then maybe the work that we're doing on the external part of our body is more so to fit in, to look a certain way, as opposed to getting into the deeper aspect, the art of creating a connection. So it's a tantra in and of itself, and so as I'm looking at people and I encounter people, the twinkle in my eye is because I'm impressed, because I'm seeing the manifestations of so many different versions of the beauty of our spiritual divine beings. Or I'm just at a birthday party, passing someone my phone, because I'm a little, you know what I'm saying? That was funny. So with that said, I think you get it. I get it. Big love to everyone who tuned in. Tag someone, tag a brother, tag a scientist, tag someone who's not even in the spiritual community, and I'll be sure to share it with these guys in my old career path, because now, I'm thinking of these things in a different way. And I appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate that I've given myself, by utilizing an old principle, the bare bones principles of time, distance, shielding, right? To give myself ALARA. In other words, to allow myself to come into more of who I am, and to witness and to know thyself, and then to bring that forward. And for every little bit that we get to know thyself, it kind of simplifies things around us. I'm trying to simplify my life right now, and I'm not trying, I'm doing it, and I'm really happy. So happy that I'm going to talk about all the things I'm happy about, but I could just say this: it feels good to feel good. And the feeling good has taken some work, and it's taken dropping and releasing of a lot of old thought processes and previous paradigms, and a willingness to just look at what is and to be grateful for everything that I have navigated up until this point. Even to heal the hurts from breakups and old relationships, it's great to just give yourself the time to feel thankful for everything that you navigated with that person, to do a little nostalgic trip, not to get caught up in it because it didn't work for a reason. So own that shit. But beyond owning it, it's like, hey, it's good. So giving thanks for the journey. Yo, onse. What's up, family? Giving thanks for the journey, giving thanks for the opportunity to reflect on what it's been, what it was, and what it can be, and then to walk as the creator of this new day every day. And this is what I'm loving the most about life right now, is the fact that I have simplified, the fact that I have navigated and given myself time, probably first time really in 20 years plus, to just sit with my emotions, to ask myself, how do I feel about this thing and that thing, and where do I stand on this and that? And do I really care about these principles so much? Yeah, I do. And everyone can kick rocks in regards to, if I'm going to stand on my principles. But at the same time of that kicking rocks, I'm still wanting to embrace everybody, because I know I'm only telling myself to kick rocks. There is only us, a me, a you. And so take a word from this expression, this chocolate, happy, I fetishize myself. This young, soul surfing brother here, which is an expression of you. And if there's any wisdom that you can take from this, please take it and apply it. Knowledge without application is like a bird without wings. And the bird with wings is the bird that shows its wisdom, or the bird that just likes to move. So be one of those two. Take what I'm sharing, and share it with some of those people who you would call muggle, right? Or abdatal. Those who are just doing their thing, because those are also beings who are navigating at a deep level of spirituality, with their eyes closed. And I find it exceedingly beautiful to be able to witness and to learn from so many things around me, from so many of you, and to be put in a space of awe, like a little kid, with deep appreciation for the journey that we're on and the remembering that some of us get to do, and even for the forgetfulness that we exhibit in the process of our remembering, because I too will forget, and I'll be relying on you to remind me. So try to do my part while I have a chance. All right, that's all I got to say for today on the second live of the day, because I have life, and that's why I do lives. You dig? Aloha. Thank you very much. And feel free to tune back in, rewind it, share it. Maybe I'll chop it up, put it on YouTube. But for the meantime, ALARA, as low as reasonably achievable. Backtracking, Ezria, going through his health physics. Health physics is radiation cleanup. Radiation, the body of knowledge, radiation physics. That's the work that I used to do. And how does it apply to the men's work and the work that I do with women? Basically the human work, all of it applies. So take what you're doing right now and find the connection, because really that's what exists, is the connection. The division is an illusion. It's false. It's not real. All right. Aloha. Happy Aloha Friday. Shoot.